Hello and welcome to your Care Assist EMAR training. So today with our EMAR, upon completion of this, you will be able to navigate Care Assist EMAR and how to administer meds within the Care Assist product. The first thing I wanted to talk about is the logging into Care Assist process and wanted to connect it to what you can expect to see from your current environment and kind of the transition from what you do today into Care Assist. Once you log into Care Assist, you'll see this particular screen if you log directly into Care Assist. If you navigate via the launcher and use EMAR, that's going to take you directly into EMAR itself and bypass this page that we're on. Now, for my care setting for training, my training environment, and if any of you were in our previous point of care training, some of this might be a repeat for you, but want to make sure that we cover it. And that is the very, very first time that you log into Care Assist EMAR, your care setting name, Goldberg, is going to be up here at the top and it's going to be white and you won't see anything else at the bottom of the page. Then when you engage with the name of your care setting and click on the Goldberg center name, then this button or question will populate that says, do you want to use an EMAR assignment? In your environment, I'm going to tell you what the difference is between yes and no. Majority of you are most likely going to want to say yes. And when you click yes, you're going to see your unit carts the same way that you see them in your EMAR today. So when I looked in your environment, it is your East diabetic, East medications, East monitor, East treatments, East weights, and then South, etc., and then West, okay? That's how that will lay out, and you'll see all of those same boxes. Now for, your units, your complete layout is East, South, and West. So take that into comparison here. If you say no to this question, you're going to see East, South, and West. And then you're going to be able to just see everything that's due all together, which for our work list as they are now, that might be beneficial for some of you, and others might choose to come and do it individual. It's up to each one of you. But if you do say yes to an EMAR assignment, like if I go into East MedCart, I'll click on that East MedCart selection that matches like the separation that you have today. And when I'm inside of EMAR, I'll review that page again. Then all of the flow sheets that are on East Meds will be available to you. And that will define what's here. When you're done with this, you will have to go click on your name, change assignment to come back and then go to your treatment card and then hit start. So the current way that you would navigate, if you say yes to that question, might have you doing a lot of back and forth, okay? But instead, if I instead say if instead I say no to an EMAR assignment, I'm just going to see the whole unit and everything. Actually, I'm going to use West today. I'm going to see.
Have them call back, okay?
I'm going to see all of my residents and all of my available flow sheets without cutting something off. So if you had a treatments sheet or treatments work list, East treatments will only let you see treatments until you go change to another one. So that's going to be different for each one of you, how you choose. When you do have your start use, I recommend trying both ways and seeing which navigation works best for you and your organization process. But that's going to be a key item, and it's distinct to the nurse role. Anytime you want to change, click on your name, change assignment, and you'll be right back here to change that designation, okay? This would be most closely related to what you do today when you click on the side and you say EMAR work list and you kind of toggle down a list. It'd be similar to that, except for now you do it on this page with big buttons. Okay. Now for the rest of this, I'm going to move into West Unit and I click the blue Start button. If you are an individual that did participate in the POC training, one thing to note is that the My Residence is not something that the nurse or the med aid uses. Okay. This is distinct for the aid role. So we're going to come back to all residents. And as a review, on my West unit, I have 40 residents. They're currently sorted by last name A to Z. And if I wanted to instead change them to be by room number, I have the option of location low to high or location high to low, and that would be allowing me to like navigate down the hallway with the cart. And so if I change this high to low, we can see room West 122B at the top and down at the bottom, probably closer to 101. So they're in order. And you can switch that all along. If I'm looking for a particular resident, like if I know that I'm going in front of Harold's room, I can type in Harold's name in the top middle and have the page sort so that I can click on his tile and I'm right within EMAR. Now, let me just take a glance at Harold's orders real quick. I'm actually going to switch to a different resident. All right. All right, so we're going to go to Robert here. So when you're looking on the left-hand side, I already mentioned up here at the top, we have flow sheets. When we start with that work list that we selected, all flow sheets that are on that particular work list are going to be displayed over here on the right if they're due, okay? If I only want to see a certain flow sheet, like if I'm like, oh, I just want to see my treatments right now, I can clear all of these, click treatments, and now all I'm seeing is my residents that have treatments currently due. So that's your ability to manipulate the flow sheets on display for what you're working on. Some users will add and remove flow sheets all day, every day. Some people never touch the flow sheets. It's all personal choice. Now, continuing on down the left-hand side, next you see EMAR filter. The EMAR filter has 4 filters on it. First one, due. And I have 92 administrations that are currently due. I currently have 3 administrations, so single medication administrations that are currently late. 0 stat orders and 0 follow-ups or PRNs or what you know today as PRN in progress, okay? Now, before I click on one of those filters, I want to bring your attention to the resident tiles down the left-hand side. White tiles means that the patient does not have anything currently in its administration period, so nothing currently due right now. Blue tiles are going to be any of my residents who only have currently due items, and that is going to be all displayed in blue. So blue is due. If someone has something that is late, like Harold here, their tile will be red. And the red means they have at least one administration that is currently late, and those are reflected in red. Red being the same as what you see today. Otherwise, today you see green for due. It's going to be changing to blue in this new location. Additionally, if a residence tile is red, you can see over here on the far right-hand side of the tile, we see a red exclamation point. That's reflecting that he also has something that is late. And we see a blue clock representing he has at least one item that is due. On those tiles, each administration is colored by the red versus blue, reflecting what's on the tile. If the patient does have a late and due, the tile, of course, will show red because that supersedes the due. Kind of similar to what you've had before, except for you've seen all of their names across the page and they're red or green based upon what's due, or you were seeing a red highlight down the left-hand side or a green highlight down the left-hand side, letting you know which of the orders were it. So now you can just see that we have that the whole order is the color of whichever one it is. Okay. Now, if I come back up to those filters, if I want to see only my residents that currently have something due, I can click on this particular filter. All of my white resident tiles will go away. And that's because if they don't have anything due, I'm hiding them by clicking on 92, the due. If I click it again, I can now see those particular ones. Now with my 92 on the due, note that Harold here still displays, okay, even though his tile is red, and that's because he has the blue clock. So he has both blue clock and the lates, therefore he's still on because one is due. If I click late, now my due and late residents are going to display, which actually is the same. But if I take the due off, you can see that Harold is the only one because he has those 3 late administrations. So that's how the filters, you can turn them on and off. And again, some individuals use filters all day, every day. Some people never touch the filters because they'll put it on and then say, how come I can't find Donald? Okay, and I start to type Donald and I'm like, where's Donald? Well, if I'm blocking Donald because he doesn't have anything due, if I forget that that filter's on, that's going to be a matter that's a little different for each one of you and whatever you're comfortable with. Next, we have looking at the top. So seeing at the top of the page, I have my EMAR tab. FYI, if any one of my residents or at least one administration is late, you'll also see the red exclamation point at the top of the screen. That just means that if I'm working on Jake who doesn't have anything late, I can see that something has moved into the lates without being on the resident that has it. So that's a notation here at the top. Um, and then we have the stat filter. Currently, my stat says 0. If I had a resident that had a order that had a frequency of stat on it, then I would see the block, like red block capital letters STAT for stat on their tile. And the filter would allow me to find that resident very quickly so I could pass that med. If I had a stat frequency, you would also see the big red block stat up on top of the EMAR tab as well to let you know, oops, I need to prioritize this next order after I'm done doing what I'm doing currently. Additionally, you will see up here when we have what you know today as a PRN in process, which you're going to call, you're going to see here in Kerecis now is changed to a purple bell. Those will mean if I do have a PRN that needs to have its results recorded or its efficacy recorded, a purple bell will let me see that those are needing to be done. And I would see numbers here on what we call follow-ups for those purple bells. You're going to see that a little bit later on. So filters, again, with the filters, please use them if, you know, and try them out and whatever's comfortable for yourselves. From the previous screen, we do have that location high to low, so I can always change the order display of my tiles down the left-hand side of the page to meet my need. And lastly, you do have that smart search. So if you're looking for a particular individual, you can start to type in their first name, their last name, or even their room number. If you haven't met them, maybe they don't have a label on their door yet, any of those things. So that smart search is helpful for finding residents quickly, or even if I'm in the midst of passing meds to Jake and Virginia comes up and asks for a PRN, I can finish with Jake and very easily move to Virginia's MAR as such. Okay, so this search resident is a very beneficial tool. Otherwise, you're sliding up and down looking for your residents on the list. All right, so with that, I need to take a little look again at my resident list because I want to make sure. Let's go to Jacob. He's going to be best. Okay. So as you can see, as I'm clicking on each resident, it updates the right-hand side of the page. I talked about the coloring. If I don't say this, somebody will ask anyway. But people will ask me, what does gray mean? Gray is just the resident I've selected. So he's selected. I can see Jake's name at the top of the page. These are all the meds for Jake, or all the orders. So now that we've talked about the left-hand side, I'm going to click on this vertical blue bar that says hide resident list. If I click on that, it just moves all of my resident tiles off the left-hand side of the page, giving me a full screen view of the orders and the necessary items that I need to follow up with for this pass. If I need to get back to my resident list, I just click on that vertical bar again, and then I can change to another resident. So now that we've got Jake here, looking at the top of the page, so we're working on this EMAR tab. FYI, if you remember, I clicked on a patient's name from the resident listing, and then I was in the MAR. If I didn't click on a patient's name from that location, I could have clicked on the EMAR tab, and then I have EMAR tasks that are here, and then active orders, which I'll show you later. Controlled substance tracking is not on in your environment. It's actually not on in anybody's environment. It's just accidentally turned back on in mine. And then order approval does not apply for you all either. Okay, so only things under these tabs are EMAR tasks and active orders. So that's another way to get here. And you can see as I refresh my page, I'm within the EMAR. All right, so next, moving along to the resident banner. Resident banner, whoever's at the top of the screen is the patient that you're looking at their orders and passing their meds to. You can see the resident's photo here, same as on the tile. Their code status, which also displays on their resident tile over here on the left, followed by their name, last name, first name, and if they have a preferred name in on their face sheet, you will see that in quotations. Underneath that, you have the patient's age, date of birth, their sex, and their unit room bed. Underneath there, you've got their attending physician, code status are previously mentioned, and then to the right, you have the list of all of their allergies from the face sheet, their diagnoses. That diagnoses, allergies, if they have a large amount of allergies or diagnoses, this will show as a single line within the resident banner. And if that number, characters is far larger than one line, then it will compress into this show all hyperlink where you can click on that to see the expanded list at any time and then close it when you're ready. Basically, what that means is your resident banner is always going to be the same size, regardless of how much content they have on allergies and diagnoses. Instead of it impeding on your workspace, it just compresses into that little hyperlink. Underneath that, you have your administration instructions. This is anything that has come from the administration instructions location at the top of your resident orders page. If you have not really been using that space, I'll just kind of show a gander here on a random record. Right here. So you all have crushed pills with applesauce. Perfect. Now, something I'm noting here, and I want to call this out, and I do apologize, John, I did not notice this when we did our build, but this section that you're actively using, which is wonderful, the administration instructions that I just pointed out, for this patient, the only thing that's going to transfer over as is crushed pills with applesauce. The information box does not transfer over to Care Assist. So I strongly recommend prior to start use, you review your active residents and anything that is in the information field, click edit and cut it and paste it into your upper box. Okay. With that save, this, while it works for the EMAR you have today, this box does not point anywhere in Kerecis. So to not lose that information, you'll just want to physically move it to the upper box so that everything is there. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't catch that. You said that your team would be doing that?
No, that's your team because of date and
That's my team.
timestamps who
Okay.
did it.
All
Yeah.
right. All right.
I
Okay.
was
Thank
I
you.
was apologizing. Yeah, I was apologizing because I didn't notice that you had that practice in place. So not giving you that information sooner.
That's okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then moving that, but this is the exact same information that I'm referring to right here. Okay. And then so that everyone's aware, this diet will not display because it's for meal tracker orders and meal tracker users anyway. Oh gosh, why am I talking that way? Meal tracker users that have dietary orders, that will automatically populate here. Within your administration instructions, since you're putting like thin liquids, some will choose to also add their diet here, or it's always going to be visible under the profile when you get in your profile orders. If you have your diet here and you include it, that's another space where you can get that diet. So you have those options. And that's the resident banner. Okay. Now from the banner, we're getting ready to get into the actual administration and all of the examples that I'm going to walk us through. Does anybody have any questions up until this point before we start passing meds? Perfect. All right, so now we're down to the bottom half. This is your workspace. Now here in your electronic MAR, you're gonna have 3 tabs, okay? So scheduled now is everything that's in its allowable period or something that is late or those red meds, okay? Scheduled later is going to be anything that is before its allowable administration time and is categorized as early. And all of your PRN meds are going to show up over here under as needed, all for this one patient. So think of it as 3 tabs in a paper mar, if any of you have ever seen one of those. And so you can toggle through those. Now, something to note, the as needed orders here, unlike what's in your EMAR today, for your work list, you might have a PRN work list. That PRN work list is something where you put a flow sheet on there, you put it on the PRN meds, it goes to the PRN work list. Within Care Assist EMAR, it doesn't care which flow sheet it's on. If it has a PRN frequency, it automatically comes under this tab correctly, which is a really nice thing because in the legacy EMAR, it's really easy to have a routine medication showing up under PRN incorrectly, or to have a PRN med showing up on your routine list and you're giving a PRN routinely. So this one, because it doesn't read what you put on the order, instead, it reads the frequency. The orders go to the correct location naturally, which is really nice. So that's a switch from your current EMAR, and it is safer administration for us doing it correctly. So those are all sorts of things that you'll toggle through. Next that we have on the page is the flow sheets. So as a reminder, and I kind of already said this, flow sheets, all flow sheets that are on the work list selected will display unless you filter something off. If I filter something off, you'll see up here it now lists all of the flow sheets that are showing, and the word all flow sheets now is gone. And instead I see that I'm only looking at these 4 flow sheets. So if you are on the screen and you see anything but all flow sheets, you'll want to return to your filters here and make sure that you didn't forget something, okay? Because that's how you would have something not visible, is because you turn filters on and you're restricting something that you can see. Next task required. I love talking about task required for our folks that are changing from legacy EMAR to Care Assist, because in your EMAR today, you have to either individually answer your tasks, and you actually have a button at the top of the page and it's like prep all for tasks. And if you don't push that, then you kind of go back and forth and you're like, wait a minute, I'm missing a task here. I've got to go back here. And it kind of jumps around a bit. And so what's happening here in Keras is because we found that that was not a very fluid workflow in Legacy. So now what happens is all tasks are listed at the top of the page. So I know for me to complete this current pass for Jake, I'm going to need a blood pressure, a blood sugar, a pain scale, his pneumococcal vaccine, and a site and units for his sliding scale. So at the top of the page, I already know everything that I need to complete the med pass. So if I was not aware that Jake was diabetic, maybe I can see right now, hey, I'm going to need a blood sugar before I'm even going to know how much I'm administering. So I might choose to go obtain those pieces of information first instead of having to go back later. And so kind of knowing it so you don't have any surprises later on and going, oh, wait, I didn't know that. Or, oh, I got to go get that. Gosh, I got to walk away now in this. So it's really, really nice. And thank you for that comment in the chat from the team. So reading that prepares me for the med pass, and the red star, as you look down, each of those are reflected by a red star in the affected order that you have. So no more prep all for tasks. You're just going to work from the top of the page down. Okay. Before I get into the administration, you also have over here on the right, the last injection site. Right now for Jake, I have nothing on here, but what I'm going to see is the last 4 sites so that I have that information for site rotation for my insulins and any injections. Okay, anything that has that site kind of gone in for them. And so you can refer to that at any time. After I do my blood sugar, or I'm sorry, after I do my sliding scale, I'll click on that again so you can see what it looks like. Now we're going to move into the order cards. So the order cards, each order is surrounded by the outline, and this is all of my order details, and you read your order from the top left down the left-hand side. So I've got my adults 50 plus multivitamin. It is due between, I have a flex time on this unit between 1 and 4. It's twice a day, and I'm giving 1 tablet. To the left of the order itself or the drug is my additional drug information. So the I that is to the left of that drug will open up basically your nursing drug handbook for that particular med. You can see here's my adults 50 plus, shows me my classifications, my side effects, and any indications below. And if I come down to the atenolol, you can see atenolol 100 milligram beta blocker, all of my side effects and my indications and any label warnings. So instead of having that nursing drug handbook on the cart, just clicking on the eye, you've got that information at your fingertips. If you have a particular drug that is not a medication, like this change Tegaderm, when I click on that eye, it's going to say drug details are not available because there's no NDC code for that. And it makes sense. That's a free text order, okay? But that eye is going to be present on all of them. Now back to the top. So we're reading the order top, left, and down. And we're going to have a prep and not given and that sort of thing. What I'm about to do is I'm about to give you like individualized administration situations. Obviously, when we do our med pass, we're going to be doing a complete med pass, but I want to give the examples for each item first. So I'm going to do a couple individual item administrations. So first of all, with the multivitamin, basically you're reading the order and touching the prep button, which you're used to a prep button for your EMAR today. And with that, reading that prep, I would read the order, click prep, pull from my cart, offer the medication, and if the patient accepts, I'm returning to the cart and I'm clicking given, and then I have a green complete. Okay. And what you'll see is for a single administration, that EMAR administration has been marked complete and it removes from the page. Okay. Now for my next order, my gabapentin, same thing. And again, we normally are doing more than one of these together, but we're doing them individualized just for the situations. So gabapentin, maybe I pulled that from the cart, read the order, pulled from the cart, prep button, offer the medication, patient refuses. So then I'm able to instead, when I return to the cart, I would say not given. And if I hit not given, instead of having to do that, I think your buttons now say something and stay, like save and stay or save and next, all of those things, all of those buttons are gone. Now it just responds to you. So I had a not given. System automatically pops this up and says, why wasn't it given? And my reasons for not given, red star, I have to enter at least my not given reason. I cannot proceed without it. And my reasons are discontinued due to condition, drug item unavailable. Basically, everything you have today is just in these cards. If I select other, then I must do the comment, which is automatically here. I don't have to expand it or anything like that. It's just present, and I have to fill it out because it's got the red star. Once I fill in that reason and hit done, now you can see a red not given and then complete, and it's been marked complete and it removes from the page. So I did a given and a not given. In all cases, you saw me starting with reading the order, prepping, and at the end, I ended with a complete, either a given or not given complete. So what I like to say is when you're working one of these med passes, always start at the top of the screen and work your way all the way down to the bottom. And in the end, always end with that complete. Kind of can't help but have this little mantra that goes on in my head that is prep, given, complete. Prep, not given, complete. So it's kind of like a little song in your head. And I apologize if that resonates with any one of you, but you always want complete to be the end because you don't want a partial administration. And I'll show later on that the system's going to prevent you from leaving the MAR with a partial administration, but best practice. So now we did those two instances. Now we're going to come up and I'm going to do this one here that has a blood pressure. Okay, same concept, reading the order, prepping the order, but I have a red star, so I can never say given because I still have a requirement, red star required. So in this case, again, no prep all for task or clicking on tasks first. I just click on the link itself. I am now looking that I'm taking the blood pressure for the atenolol 100 milligram tablet. I can see my systolic, diastolic, and I can enter those values. And then I have my position, activity, location, and device. No red stars down here, but of course, document and record as you normally would. Okay. And save. And when you hit save, that vital has been saved and now it's right inside of my blood pressure here and able to say given. What's the question coming from the Goldberg team?
There's no associate choice.
Do we have a associate button where we can take a blood pressure that a CNET has taken and associate it with the medication we're giving? We currently have that.
Absolutely.
We do.
Yeah,
Okay.
you absolutely do. So I'm going to go back in here. So in this case right here, if I had one, it would be right here to the right with the value, the person who took it, date and time, and a little checkbox. In a moment or in another example, it will be here. I just didn't have a previous here on this patient. But yes, it would be a checkbox and that would gray out this box and I'd be using what was already entered. Absolutely.
Perfect. By the way, guys, all the nurses out there, you already know best practice. You take your own blood pressure. I'm not saying associate the CNA
Yeah.
blood pressure.
Yep. I gotcha.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Also, I will say, as a segue from that question, which is a really great one, if I had an order that had many tasks on it, like if this was something where I was going to need my blood pressure, a temperature, a pulse, right? Then you would continue scrolling down the page and doing all of them. And what would happen is right now, today, you have like if you have more than one order that needs a blood pressure, right? You will say you'll enter that and then you have like a checkbox and then it says apply to all. Here, instead of that apply to all, you'll fill it in the first order, you know, if you had that blood pressure. And then when you get to the next one, you're going to have the ability to check the one you put in above. So then it's still the same concept, just done differently. Okay. But you can use that as long as you've recorded it earlier on in the MAR. And then you can just check it again if that blood pressure was on 3 orders for that administration time. Great questions. Trigger that back. Perfect. Let's get this one in, navigate. There we go. And I'll resave that. So now my red star is gone. And so that was an example of having an order with a task and then same thing, always end with complete. Okay. So now that we've done the task, now you can see I've got a sliding. Oops, I'm going to mute you there, Mary. Hang tight. There you go. What was there another question coming? Make sure. Okay. So here's our sliding scale, and then I have my warfarin, and I have a treatment order, and I also have a vaccination order. I'm going to do this one individually in a moment, but I'm going to do all of the orders except for that Prevnar 13. Okay, so now that I've given a couple situations, now we're going to go into what does this feel like for real when you're doing a full med pass. Okay, so I'm on the chart. I'm reading my orders. I know that I need a blood sugar, site and units, and my pain level. And again, we're ignoring the pneumococcal temporarily. So what do? I'm going to come in, I'm reading the order, and I'm going to repair, but in this case, I'd need my blood sugar, right? So for my blood sugar, I might choose to do that blood sugar first, enter vitals. Here, I'll put in my blood sugar. Maybe it is, maybe my blood sugar is like 237, okay? Again, you would be able to see this over here. Oh, and also to add, if when we get into somebody who has a history, you will only be, just like today, you'll only be able to check the box for associating what's already on the chart if you've already recorded it for the last one. But then underneath that, you'll have a compressed view history. And that view history, you can expand it to see up to 3 more. So that if instead, if you're needing to look at that history, it's all within this page right here. If I get an example, I'll call it out again. If I took this vital earlier, I can adjust the time if that's applicable. Okay. And then hit save. So that's the same as what I did. And with my blood sugar being entered, you can see my 237 here, and it's reading my scale. And now it tells me that I need 4 units and it's already filled in my 4 units. All that's remaining is saying that I gave the med and what location or site it was administered in. So at this point, I'd be prepping. I know that I need 4 units. I'm going to prep those 4 units and I'm going to continue reading my MAR. And I'm going to prepare the next one, the warfarin, read the order, pull from the cart, click prep. Moving on down. This is a treatment order. Probably you would return later to go ahead and do this, but we're going to pretend we did it at the same time. Prep. Even though it's a treatment order, we still always use prep. It's basically telling Matrix Care or Care Assist EMAR that you're engaging with that order and you're prepared to give whether it was given or not given. Okay. And then we're skipping the Prevnar. And then down here to our residence pain level, we're going to prep that. And we have our vital. And with that, I have my numeric where I can put in my number. I have my Wong-Baker faces where I can click on the designated face. And I also have the pain ad if you have those dementia residents, and you would go through and answer. And that would, of course, create your pain scale here. Okay. So I'm going to use the numeric and enter a 3 and hit save. So now I've basically done my best practice, right? I've read all of my orders. I've prepared them, click the prep button, move to the bottom of the page. And at this point, I'm usually walking away from the cart to enter the room, wherever the resident may be, if you're in a public area, however you're passing your meds, but you're leaving the cart itself with the meds that you're offering. You have a walk away button up here at the top left of your name. So you would click walk away. Okay, and my environment's gonna log me out of all of my other stuff because I'm logged into a lot of stuff today, so temporarily there. And it's gonna bring you back to this login page, and you're gonna go offer the meds, return to the cart, and click here, and then you would put your username, and mine's all confused. I'm in a different bunch of environments today, but your username would still be here, and all you would need to do is put in your password when you return, similar to the walkaway you have today. Log back in, it will bring you right back to the same page you were on before you walked away. You can see I'm right here on Jake's page. All of my preps are still here, okay? And if Jake accepted everything I offered, instead of clicking all these givens, instead, there is this all prepped given at the bottom. He accepted everything. What this button will do is, oops, perfect. So scratch, I was halfway through a sentence. I'm going to start a different sentence and return for a moment. So built in to the product is if I go to say I gave everything that I prepared, the system's going to let me know if I forgot to fill in a med task. And if you remember, I had my sliding scale. I knew I needed the 4 units, and I knew that the blood sugar was the 237, but I still had that site that I needed to enter. If I forget that I didn't put the site in, this is the message that you see. So it's warning, 1 or more prepped orders requires a med note or vital. The required information must be entered before you can select all. So it's kind of like guiding me to go, oh yeah, go back and do this. So if you see this message, you're going to click on you're going to go back and look for your red star. Okay. And so by scrolling up to the top of the page, I'm scrolling up. Oh, yep, there's my red star that I missed. I need to indicate what the site was. Clicking on that task. Here we can say, abdomen, save. And now I'm going to use that all prepped given. So it let me know, oh, wait, you forgot something. Do that first, which I did. Now all prepped given will take everything that had the blue prep on it. All of these. So no all prep all for tasks. All those buttons are gone. You can see down my page, each of those that had the prep indicated have all been filled in with given. And I hit complete. 4 orders have been marked successful, and they've been wiped off the page until their next administration. Now, very cool. Now, if I hadn't held this one, this page would be empty. So I'm going to do another individual example. And this is brand new. Okay, so in CareAssist, something's available to you with CareAssist EMAR that you did not have as a legacy EMAR user. And that is inside of your orders, any of your vaccination or preventive health types of orders. So your COVID tests, your pneumococcal vaccines, TB testings, all of those things. When you enter those orders, you now have the ability to add preventive health tasks to them. And if you add those tasks, just like you add that blood pressure and those tasks that you do today, now you also have the ability to add these tasks. And if you add them on the order, it will present in this manner. So I have a Prevnar 13 to give. I'm going to do the same thing, prep, but I have to enter my task. When I click this, instead of it being a vital entry, it's actually my preventive health entry that it will open. And so now you can see I'm within Jake's preventive health. Here's an example of the association, by the way. This one's spread out, but it's very similar to this for the temperatures, blood pressures, all of those. So you can see over on the left, my pneumococcal vaccine, I have my created date, whether or not consent was obtained, yes or no, and then administered, yes, in-house, outside of care setting or no. If I'm giving it, which I am going to say, that I'm doing. I can do the yes in-house and enter each of my relative fields. These are all the things you're used to in preventive health. And then I can hit save. Now in this case, we're going to use that association one. So here you can see my last given. Here's my date and time. There's the associate. And then now it's filled in with that info. And here's my last 3 records available. What's the question from the nursing team?
Is that a task if you don't, or is that an option that the nurses can do? Like, if they don't do it, would that throw in as a task, like EV yellowed out, or can they skip that altogether?
No, so this is what will present if you check the box inside your order for these available tasks, just like a vital sign. So if you don't put it on the order, this doesn't happen. Does that answer it?
Things like the order.
Yeah.
I'll show you the order after I'm done so that this comes together. But it's basically exactly what you're already doing with vital signs. It's just now it's connected to preventive health. So instead of putting it on your order that you did it and then having to go separately and go record it, now you're doing it at the same time. And you don't have to go back and do it later because it's going to be in the chart. Yep.
So we do
And I'll
that
show that.
same time.
Okay.
Say that again.
That's it. Thank you so much. That sounds like a
Yep.
task.
Okay,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome. Yeah, you're no problem. So here I'm going to associate. And so that's that concept of like that vital sign, same concept. Okay. And with that, I'm hitting save and it's right back into my MAR. Okay. So it's just basically tying together preventive health now with your MAR as well. Now I can see my pneumococcal, my PCV 13 Prevnar was given, administered, yes. And then I have my given and complete. So let's pull this together because of the questions. I want to make sure everybody's clear. So if I click on the launcher now and go to preventive health, all I'm doing is the exact same thing with those vital signs is I associated this entry from yesterday. Instead of giving that test again, because it was already on the record, I recorded it because my MAR said, do this test. Just like if it had been a temperature or a blood sugar, it all works the same way. They're just now connected. In your legacy EMAR, if you had an order that told you to give a vaccine or take a, do a TB test, you would have been initialing it, but then also having to go update your preventive health. So either I would have entered that information new, which was what I was first doing on the example, or I'm also able to say, hey, we already gave this. I'm not going to give it again. I'm instead going to associate this entry because they're all interconnected exactly like vitals are. Hopefully that helped clear that up. Oh, and on the order, backtrack, sorry. The order. So if I come back to the order and we see my Prevnar order right here, all that's different is these boxes. When I wrote the order, I have this section. So if I'm entering a preventive health order, I'm checking the box just like I would have with a blood pressure up above. And that's what makes that happen. So the action is the same. It's just adding one more thing you can do it with. Did that help everybody?
Yes.
Perfect. So you're welcome. So we're going to head back to the EMAR. Okay, so now that I've done each of those situations, we've talked about best practice of how we carry these forward. Now we're going to go to Harold. So Harold has some late items. Andy has due items. So we're going to take that same premise and together. Okay, so even though he has late items and due, I can still do it all at the same time. So here, read the orders, and now it's just going to be irrelevant. But now that there's administrations, I also down here at the bottom, let me close that again. I can see that this was last given June 27th at 11 a.m. If I want to see the additional details of that last administration, I can expand it and I can see that this was med notes right thigh. Okay, so that's always going to be embedded in each order after they've been given down at the bottom. Okay, now, so prepping the order, any med notes that go along with it, read the next order, Lasix, prep it, ready to go, read my next order. This one I'm actually going to skip because it's a special type of tasking, so I'm going to just skip that. And we're going to do the Lasix, and we're going to do the fever, and we'll enter that temperature. Here's the example to show where it follows up with your question. Here's the associate option. Here's the view history. Okay, so I can only associate the last one, but it's right here. And then I make my choice of whether I'm going to enter a new one or if I'm going to use the last one. Okay. So now I've got all of these on. I have due items and late items placed together, and I can still use the exact same process, all prepped given. But because I have these late orders up here, the system, I don't have to do anything for it to do this nice and smoothly for me. I touch all prepped given, and it's automatically going to say, okay, but of the 5 that you have, these 2 are late. And when I do all prepped given, I'm able to answer this question once. Those reasons will feed into both of the orders at the top. If I had more than 5 orders up here, the show more is just letting me expand it. So if I had 8 orders that were late, I'm still only entering it once because they're all stacked here. Enter the information once. You don't, the only way that you're entering it multiple times is if you're doing prep, given, complete. Then you would have to enter it individually each time. That's why we go from the top of the MAR to the bottom, and then you can definitely streamline everything that you're doing. So I'm going to just say that this one was charted late, and just like the same choices that you have today in your current legacy MAR, administered late, charted late, those will require the comment. The drug item unavailable, previously refused, and unavailable do not require the comment, and other does. So follow your same practice, okay? I'm going to say returned late from LOA, okay? You have 100 characters in this box, so you can type quite a bit in these boxes. I believe that number is the same as what you have today. Hit done, and you can even see in my late orders before I complete, you can see that reason right here embed directly into the order text. And again, I can hit complete. So I was able to sign off my due items and my late items without really skipping a beat. Okay. Hold. If you have an order that has been placed on hold and you have used the Matrix Care hold functionality where you have put it on hold, if that has occurred, then the order displays here in Care Assist as such. You'll see the order on hold. You'll still see the physical order, but the only option of charting is not given. And if I come into this, so it's not like out of sight, out of mind, where I can't see the order. If I click this, I'll hit not given. And because it's on hold, it'll automatically say the reason is that it's not, that it's on hold. Sorry, that it is on hold. And we'll hit complete, and that hold order has been charted. So that is an option should you use that hold order functionality. Now, as I move to another resident, okay, now we're going to indicate like if I make a mistake. So now that we've done all the best practice and the ways that we should be doing this, now I'm going to show you what not to do, or where the system is going to try to help you to keep best practice workflow. Okay, so I'm going to start at the beginning. Now that we've done a lot of these for Susie, I'm going to say, okay, I've got the hang of this. I'm prepping this. I'm reading this. I'm prepping this. And then oh, and I remember that I need my blood pressure. So, yep, I gave this one. I'm going to associate or add all of those things. And I'm reading, like it's all going great. Okay. Now, even with my sliding scale, many times that's when people will forget to put in their site, but I'm being really conscious of this. I want to make sure I do everything correctly. Adjust the time should I need to. And I'm like, oh, let me see. And actually, I don't have a site on here. I'll go back to the other resident. Yeah. But I check the site, make sure I'm rotating sites appropriately. And like, let's say that this is now the right thigh. And I'm doing everything perfect, right? I'm like, I'm getting this. Like, I'm really organized. I've got this figured out. Okay. I'm repeating, do some tasks. numeric, maybe the pain level is a 2, hit save. And I got to get to the bottom. She's got all these orders. And she's also got the Prevnar, and I'm going to enter that one. Get my task entered. Consent obtained, yes. And maybe this one is a yes in-house, and I'm going to say I gave it today. I gave the Prevnar 13, and I fill in all my dose, everything else. Okay, we'll pretend I did that. And I'm back into my MAR. And so I'm like, okay, I'm figuring all of this out. And I come to the bottom and I say all prepped given. Now, if I say all prepped given, and I'm like, okay, I'm done, I'm ready to move to my next person. As soon as I try to go to Harold, if you get this error, incomplete administration error, there are administrations that have not been completed under your scheduled now. Please select the complete button to save your documentation. I'm not done with Susie's administration until this green complete. That's why I kind of push that concept of always end with complete. But the system, if I've said that I gave it, it's not going to let me leave this page. It's going to keep telling me to select complete. So what I see people do is not read this. And so I've been on site and watched people, and they're like, it won't let me do it. And they're like, yeah, it won't let me. And they're like, see, I keep doing this and I keep getting this message. And I'll be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Are you reading the message? And they'll be like, yeah, it says I can't do this. And I'll be like, no, what does it say? Right. And it's telling me touch the complete button. That's all you have to do. What I don't want you to do is kind of do this clicky thing that I'm doing and getting frustrated, because I've actually watched people say it won't let me, and then they come to this X and they just close it down. You still have not finished Susie. And so it's a hard error that's keeping you here. So when you see that, please read the message and remember my little mantra: always end with complete, because now that I touch complete, I've got these. If I close this off and X'd out the screen, then it's a half administered thing. And now it's going to turn red in 30 minutes because I kind of wasn't playing with the system. So that's why I make that thing of starting at the top, working your way to the bottom, always end with complete, and you will find that things feel really smooth and efficient. Okay. So now you can see I'm easily able to move to Harold. One more situation I'm going to kind of drill through is if I go to Jesse here, same thing. If I go to Jesse's room and he's like, I ain't taking anything you're giving, I don't want it, and you do your offering of medications, then you do have an all not given. So if he refuses everything, okay, all not given, here's everything on his page showing, and I can then say why it's not given. Refused. If your refusal practice says that he has to refuse times two, and even if, you got to put MD notified, whatever to follow your practices, but you can also do the all not given. Whoops. And as long as you end with complete, see over on the right, everything has the not given indicated. And you can see they're all automatically stamped with my reason there. And just like that, those are gone. Okay. So you can do you prep everything and then use the all prepped given, or if they refuse everything, you have that quick and easy way to do that as well. And then with David, let's say that David accepts some things and refuses others. So I might have prepped several items, okay? We'll even say we have a blood pressure here. And moving on down. And we prepped. And we prepped. Actually, I'll say that the blood sugar was one of the refusals. Okay, so I won't, yeah, we'll keep it to do. And then prepped, I'm going to get all the way down the page. Sorry for the duplicity here. Okay, now if Dave refuses two of these items, he refuses the blood sugar and he refuses the Prevnar, okay? So in this case, what I would do is I would temporarily deselect the 2 that he didn't take. Okay. And then everything else that he accepted, I'd use the all prepped given. Oops, I've got a med note, so let's find that. Of course, you're normally really reading these as I continue to talk through them. So let me find my red star right here for pain. Okay. All right. So I deselected those that I originally prepped because he refused them. I still have them. I can still use the all prepped given complete. Now what's left is the 2 that he refused, and then I can do all not given. And again, I got my same item. So just how I used the page was just because I checked them doesn't mean I can't make it efficient. And if it's a half and half or something like that, I would deselect whatever I don't want to do, still use that all prepped given, not given, and use it in that order so that you can still efficiently do so. Because what I want you to prevent, if you can, is the fact of saying this, let's see, these are all, here we go. We'll just do it this way. So if I do the prep and then I say not given, if I click not given instead of this all, then I've got to say, oh, it was discontinued. And then I've got to go to the next one. Oh, prep, not given. So as soon as I use not given individually, then I've got to put the reason in individually. So kind of make it work for you, and how you organize yourself is going to make things that much more crisp and clean, and also prevent med errors or getting lost or wait a minute, I did this, I didn't do that, I don't know what's going on, etc. And so those pieces are very helpful with the all prepped given or vice versa. Okay, so I tried to really exhaust every single situation that is helpful for you, or also add to areas of difficulty that I observe with other users. Okay, but that all comes together. Now I'm going to change my unit for a moment. I'm going to go back to East where I should have late items. Okay. So now that I'm looking at Janet here, and Janet has some late items, and I'm going to say that I'm going to give this one and this one. So I'm going to give those 2, and I'm going to say complete. And I'm halfway through this order or this administration, and a call light's going off, or I hear a fall and I've got to run away from the cart and all of those things that happens every day, right? So I'm partially done with Janet, but I'm not done, but I've got to leave. I go take care of something else. Now I return back to my MAR and I'm like, what was I even doing before? I don't even remember. Like, I know I was here on Janet, but I don't even remember, right? So there is this other option, vertical blue bar on the right-hand side. And if I click on that, what this is going to show me is anything that's like partially done. So right now it's showing me any prepped orders, but if I toggle this switch, it's going to let me see, oh yeah, I've still got that CIPRO I need to give. If I instead had prepped this order, or I had partially prepped items and I had things kind of in a halvesies state, this is going to show me what I've got. So I only made this demo with one order, but let's pretend you had pulled, you still had the little cup of pills on the cart. You can come back and be like, okay, what do I have? And that's what this is for. It's just a way to help you get reassociated with the screen and whatever is halfway done, especially if you've got a really long page, and this demo isn't showing it, but if you have 7 meds that you've started to prep, getting into what they are without having to scroll down and read everything, this will be a nice, tight, small listing for you to be able to be like, okay, this is everything I have here. So some people use that all the time. Some people never use it. Sometimes I forget to even include it in training. It's come about, it's been around for about 2 years. But I've never heard like huge feedback of people, oh, in this situation, it really helped me out a lot. So it's got its purpose to help you out. But for some of you, it might be something you use all the time. Some of you might be like, oh, it's not very helpful, but do note that it's there. Okay. All right. So with that, let's get everybody kind of back in the call. Let's see. Whoops. Get her in. There we go. So now we've gone through several bits of administration. Now I'm going to do a circle back to West Unit for my next situation here. Back to EMAR. We were back here on EMAR tasks, and yes, I exhausted all of these different situations, but here we are looking at Harold. And with Harold, let's say that Harold is going to be going out on pass, okay? He's going to be going out on pass and he wants to take some meds with him, but they're not due yet, okay? So that's scheduled later. So if I click on scheduled later, I can see anything that's currently early and they're gray because they're not due yet. And if it's early, then I can see them all the way down. And maybe he's going to take the viromycin with them and he's going to take the fever with them. Pretend it was a different order, but we're going to use these. And even the blood sugar. Okay, so maybe I've got the blood sugar. I know this doesn't make sense, but we'll do it. So blood sugar, I'm going to associate the old value and, we've got the 6 units, whatever. So if I'm preparing these and I'm passing them off for him to be taking later, I still am going to do this, but you can see I only have all prepped given because if I prepped it early, you wouldn't be saying not given because otherwise you'd wait until it was due. But then you can do the all prepped given. And again, I got stuck with my little med notes because I'm talking. So we'll just pretend like I am paying attention. There we go. All prepped given. Oh, I got another one. Darn it. Talking through over myself here. This time I'll enter a 99 oral. I would adjust the time as applicable. Okay, one more time. All prepped given. And same as with the lates, it'll say, okay, you're getting ready to give all 3 of these early. What is your given early reason? Resident is going to be out. If I even wanted to, I could be like out for a LOA with family, one-time order or meds sent with resident, however detailed or not detailed your practice allows or defines, and you're going to hit done. And mine is, there we go. You can see my little note here that I'm giving it early. Here's my reasons. They embed inside of the order, and I would hit complete. Okay. And now I've given early administration. Okay. Now, if I take that one step further, I sent Harold with those 3 meds. I also probably, along with that, want to send them with education or something where any notes that I've given with the patient education, maybe I want to wrap it up in something. So this is where I like to show under the EMAR tab, we have active orders. Active orders is a space in which you can see all of the active orders, whether they're scheduled for administration right now or not, and you can see them down the page. And I'll talk a little bit more about this in a moment, but right up here at the top, I have a print preview. When I have a patient who's going out and I'm sending meds with them, the print preview is a beautiful tool because it is a report. Orders, the patient, their allergies, diagnosis, every single order that they have. And then I can hit print right here from my cart. And then on the piece of paper, when I'm giving the meds, I can handwrite whatever I want on here, circle the ones they're going to take. Please take this with your lunch meal, whatever, and write all of your instructions on this. And this piece of paper is your report. And as you can see with my print, it's a physical report. So it's a really great tool that's available to you right from the cart. And then of course you would just hit save as long as you're connected to a printer. So I love that, especially for when patients are going out, or if they're like, hey, I want a list of my meds, fine, print, and then you can hand it over to them, and follow any of your practices for those. So that's the first thing for active orders. The second thing for active orders is that, let me repeat back here for a moment. Inside of each of your administrations, the order cards, you always will have this view administration or view history. So inside of each card is your view history, which gives you a 14-day administration history here. And you can see those as such. And like here, you see my early administration. And down below, I can see that I gave the 6 p.m. Administration already and the reason that I recorded. So I can see that history while I'm giving the meds because each order card has that history on it. Okay. Same over here, view history. So it's always there. When I'm inside of the EMAR tab under active orders, this is where I have the 14-day administration history for anything, regardless if it's due right now or not. So let's say you're like, well, I'm always giving the Lasix at this time and it's not showing up, right? It's not showing up for me to give. Why not? Go to active orders, find your Lasix order, click 14-day administration history. That's where you could see, oh, Stephanie already gave the 3 o'clock, right? And that's why it's not showing up because it's already done. Or maybe it was the previous example and it was given early and they took it when they were out and they came back and you're like, they're saying, what about this? Then you can figure it out, right? So that 14-day history means you can still get all of that information from being in the MAR without having to go anywhere else to do it. Okay. Um, so that's a huge thing. Additionally, in the history, I'm sorry, active orders, sorry about that. You see me scrolling up and down with my weird mouse that keeps rolling back and forth, okay, on me. I also can look for a med. So if I'm looking for the Lasix order, right, I can type it at the top of the page and then it's going to sort it for me. If I recently had, maybe the order got discontinued earlier today, I would see the words discontinued on 8/1 at 8 a.m. on this page because it's just now deactivated or discontinued today. So this page is an amazing tool for you for many different items. Additionally, you have e-prescribe connectivity with your pharmacy. This page also will allow you, this page, if you have the e-prescribe connectivity and your drugs that have resupply available, you'll have your resupply button right here on those allowable meds. And so even if the order's not due and you're doing a count on your your cart, you could come in and push the button to send that push message to your pharmacy to resupply whatever on-demand meds that you have. So you can do that from this page as well. I just can't show it to you because I'm not connected to a pharmacy. And on your tasks, back to the order card, while you have your view history here, for your e-prescribe resupply, you'll also have a little line here, and then it'll say, this will kind of be pushed over left a little bit more, but you'll have view history and a resupply button here. So if you're giving your meds and your supply is low, then you can touch the resupply while you're passing meds, or you can do it on the view active orders. So there's lots of different tools and resources available for you in this space so that you can do everything EMAR related right from here. Next thing, this is an active order link. So if I click on this, it'll take me back to the order. If I click on the link from the active orders, it's going to take me into the order. So if I click on it, so if I have an order that's popped up and I'm like, wait a minute, this was discontinued this morning, I can DC that order. DC it for whatever reason. I got to add my name here. I can DC, I can click on the order, add a task that might be missing, any of those particular items, and then just return to my EMAR. And if I use my launcher to to go back to the EMAR, which your launcher, I just realized in my statement, I've been using it very quickly here and there. I just remembered that you all weren't familiar with the launcher. So the launcher is new to you all as SSO users. It's something that's added with this upgrade of your EMAR administration. So I'm going to add a little extra flavor right here. Think of this as the same as the tabs at the top of the page that you're used to when you would touch EMAR before at the top of the page. Now you're able to come here and touch EMAR. Okay. When you're in your EMAR and you want to go to orders, you click on orders. So think of this as like the tabs at the top for resident orders, resident progress notes, resident preventive health. Now you can do all that from the launcher. Okay. Um, And so we talked about the active orders, and here's a display now that I discontinued an order because it got discontinued at 3:46 p.m. This order became due at 1, so it's still displaying because this was done now. So if it already hit my MAR as being due, then it's not going to pull it from my MAR. It's going to allow me now to say that it's not given and then why it's been discontinued because it already hit the due time. And that's the same as how it works in your legacy administration today. One more thing. So lots of one more things for you. Up here in the resident banner, you still have your quick view that you're used to from legacy pages. This is the same quick view that you have there. It's just a refresh little view. Actually, I think it looks the same there now, but you've got your demographics, all active orders, and of course, effective dates. If you go to EMAR, you've got your last administration with each order. And if you had a PRN administration, which I'll still do, you'd see that reason over here. So everything's still available to you. It's really all inclusive for you inside of CareAssist to not have to leave here when it's EMAR related. All these things are accessible for you. All right. Now, if there isn't any questions, I'm going to finally do the PRN administration. So just like we did our scheduled now, then we did an early, did the segue into active orders, and now as needed. Oh, I don't want that order. We're going to take that one off. Let me change it to a different one because that's not a good example. Not our recommended entry. So give me 1 second. Jake. All right. And you can see when you navigate and switch residents, whichever tabular you're on, you're still in that tabular for the next patient. Okay. So here's Jake. He has an oxycodone. He has a Tylenol order. With that, if I hit prep, and if I do 2 of them, I can do more than one, should it be applicable. And once I hit given, it's automatically, disregard this line up here. That's not on in your environment. When they gave me my environment back, it looks like I don't know, they've changed some of my configurations, but pretend that this line isn't there. And when this automatically popped up, you're going to be seeing this given as needed reason. So it automatically prompts for me. I don't have to do that prep all for tasks, which for me, when I remember back, was something I would always get lost in. But my given is needed reasons, same reasons that you have today. So if I'm giving this for pain, follow up with your comments as applicable. I'm going to say that the pain was a 3 out of 10. Maybe it was actually, it's probably a 5 out of 10 here, 5 out of 10. And this is like right hip pain. Okay. And I have my done. Again, you don't have this in your environment, so disregard and hit done. And as soon as I hit this complete, I'm going to open this up for a moment. When I hit this complete, we're going to see a purple bell populate here. We're going to see the follow-up number turn to a 1, and we're going to see a purple bell show up on Jake's tile. So I prepped it, I gave it, placed my reason. Here's a purple bell. Here's the follow-up that says I have 1, and Jake's tile has a purple bell on it. So the purple bell is the equivalent of your yellow current PIP or PRN in process. And so with that purple bell, obviously now that I've given a PRN, I must enter an effectiveness for that. Now I'm going to be doing it immediately. You would probably be waiting your 30 to 45 minutes to an hour before you come back and say whether it was effective or not. But when I come back, we're going to pretend like, oh, I have several PRNs in process. That's a great time to use your filter. And regardless of which resident you're on, you can see now it's showing me this is Jake who has a follow-up. Again, it'd be the exact same as those yellow pips that you have today. And once I get here, the how I chart off the PRN, I give the med under this as needed tab. I sign off when I charted that PRN, I created a scheduled now, which is my follow-up. So you're going to see your follow-up in purple on the scheduled now. If I had other meds on the scheduled now tab, this would be at the very bottom of the page. Now, this isn't going to demo very well for you, but where it says I have one follow-up task, this is a hyperlink. So if you just pretend for a minute that I had like 7 other orders on Jake's scheduled now, this link right here was a link that would scroll me all the way to the bottom to remind me where do I go to chart this. Mine's at the top because it's the only thing, but that's really what the follow-up task is. It would just scroll me down to say, okay, here it is if you're ready to chart the effectiveness. Now that we see it under the scheduled now and the purple bell and all the pretty coloring here, what you're going to see is the oxycodone, which was administered. You can see this is a follow-up task, again, equivalent of a PIP or a PRN in process. And you can see it was given at this time. It was given for this reason and the comment. And to enter the effectiveness, see how my complete is grayed out? I come to my red star over here on the right, where I'm going to enter the effectiveness of the PRN. Click on that, see my order, follow-up results, effective, not effective, somewhat effective, or other. If I do other, I must do my comment, okay? And I'm going to say that this one was effective, and I'm going to add my comment and say, Jake is sleeping in his chair, right? Chair. Hit done. Now that I've finished my effectiveness, you can see my effective result right here and any comment I might have written. And this follow-up done is grayed out, and I just hit complete. And once I do that complete, we're going to see the 1 go away, the bell go away, or actually this whole tile will go away because the bell's gone, and this will be gone. So that's signed off. Now I have no more PRN follow-ups to chart and all my purple bell items that are gone. This would be a perfect example of if you use the filter, you have to remember to kind of disengage or return to your filters, or else you'll be like, let me go back to this. Where are my residents? How can I get to them? And as you could see, it was once I added another filter that I saw resident tiles again, or removal of that tile or filter. So really that brings all of those pieces together. So I've gone through pretty much and exhausted every situation example that I can think of. Before I show you your additional tools available to you for compliance, looking at how much is due, adding something to communication from nurse to nurse. Any questions on administration or anything I've shown so far? All right, let's press on then. So back to my launcher. So here on my launcher, we have this dashboard, which you're familiar with, okay? On the dashboard, this page that you've seen before, you should have the addition on your templates for seeing, looking for mine, hang tight. I think I passed it, hold on. There we go, right here at the top. So there's a widget, it's called the EMAR Late and Due Administrations for Care Assist. So we didn't have anything like this for you for your current EMAR administration. And this widget is normally this size. I like to make mine larger so it stands out on my page. So all I did was like hover over the right-hand side and click and drag. Okay. What this is used for is to let you know currently, right now, what does EMAR look like? So inside of EMAR, I currently have Janet. She has 1 late administration and 0 that is due. That equates to she has 1 red tile that needs to be administered, and she has nothing showing in blue. Chester has 1 red and 1 blue. 0 late or 0 red, 1 that's currently due. So at a glance, this is telling me what needs to be done. Here we can see that Edith has 21 administrations that are currently late. So if I know that there's like a new nurse down on Edith's unit, I might choose to go down and find out, hey, how can I help you with that? So it's at a glance, what does it look like inside of EMAR? And you can use that as leaders to monitor compliance and the status of your users on the carts. Okay. I also like to recommend looking at this as a part of your nurse handoff, because if I'm taking the keys from you, then I surely don't know why these are 21 or late, right? So if we're looking at this, then I'm taking them knowing that everything before me has already been taken care of. So it's definitely nice of like making sure that we're holding ourselves accountable and we're not handing it off with a lot of things incomplete. So it's all at a glance, all works fine there. Now, and FYI, I am going to be adding something extra into this just because we have a little extra time today. But if you haven't done shift to shift, I'm going to give you a demo of it because it's available in your environment today. And if you're not using it yet, you should be. And it also has information related to EMAR on it. So I'll get back to this. So we have our widget, gives us our snapshot of what's going on there. And then we're going to move into facility reports. So all of the reports that go along with your EMAR administration today are the same reports you'll be using once you transition to Care Assist. On the day of start use, have that has EMAR on it, that will get turned off, and you only will be able to access the new method, which is Care Assist EMAR. So that'll get turned off that same day or in conjunction. To you, John, the one premise on that day is that before we turn off the EMAR tab, any PIPs in Legacy need to be completed in Legacy before we move over. So if we give some PRNs or we know we're going to be transitioning or turning on Care Assist in the next 20 minutes, if you give that PRN, I would hold the administration. Like you could give it, but I would like write it down on paper and I would record the full PRN in Care Assist after, and like kind of transition there. The reason being is we can't have something started in Legacy and completed in Care Assist. So we usually will look at it and we'll say, okay, we're planning on turning off your EMAR tab at this time. And we'll be like, okay, check to see that you've got your PRNs, either no new ones added or any that have already been given have been signed off. So that PIP should show a 0 before we turn it off because they don't transfer over. Okay.
Okay. That doesn't apply to any events or observation that's opened, right?
No, it's
Okay.
just the PRNs in process. Yeah, it's like I gave it
right.
and I haven't gone back and said, yep. So with that, this will disappear on that day. Okay. Now, back to the report. So facility reports. And this is just a review because you probably are already familiar with these, but they are the same reports. So if I'm looking at compliance for EMAR, same one, EMAR compliance, administration compliance. When I click on this and hit next, anything that shows on here is going to be something that still needs to be done. I'm going to generate it for today on my West unit, the one that I used. And I'm actually not going to pick any of these other parameters and just hit report. And when I hit report, anything that shows up on this report is something that is not done. Okay. Now, these right here, you can see for Harold. Okay. I actually started these orders, and in all of my examples, I prepped these orders, but I had an instance where I didn't touch complete at the bottom of the page. The only reason why I wasn't prevented is because I never hit the all given or the given button. If I had tried to hit the given or all prepped given, it would not have let me leave that page. But in this case, it's basically suggesting that I pulled all the meds, prepped them, have a cup sitting on my cart, and I never offered them yet. Okay. If you see anything in these three boxes, a date, a time, an individual's name, that means they engaged with the EMAR, but they never finished. So it's an incomplete administration. It's not just late, but it's incomplete. Any of the items that are under this missed, the missed administrations means they're no longer visible on EMAR. They became late. They sat there for your allowable period, which I think you all have as 10 or 12 hours. I'll double check in a moment. So then they sat there late for that period of time, still hadn't been charted, and then they finally fall off the MAR because they can't just sit there forever. That's a missed administration when you look at this report. Then you also will see near misses, and near misses are reflective of an administration that's currently red on the MAR. It's still in Care Assist, and it's hanging out and it's red. So if you see a near miss on this report, it means go finish it in EMAR, or else it'll become a missed or a hole. Okay. But any of these partial items means in some way, shape, or form, I engaged with the order, but I never finished everything to get to that complete portion at the end. If you see 3 empty boxes, then that means we've never touched the order and this is currently hanging out red and I haven't started it at all. Or if it's a missed, is we never touched it. We have no idea if we gave it or we didn't. We're going to have to investigate. So this is your compliance. Ultimately, you would like it to be empty. And if I take this back for Batson, okay, ideally, because of those near misses, I could go back to EMAR or Batson being her name. You can type in Batson. And here's where we can see the reason why I had that right here, because I entered the task. And so I engaged with the order and see how there's no red star there. So I'd have to finish this and say given. And once I complete, then it will no longer show as a near miss on there because my name was on there. And then this one, of course, we get rid of that one, call it a day. So anything I see on that report is reflective. Near miss means I can still go back to EMAR to finish charting it. If it's a miss, meaning it was on the record, sat there as lit for late for you. Oh, that one, hang on. Gave myself a little error here. Give me a second to get re-logged in. You all have your set for 4 hours. So if an administration turns red, so like if it was due at 8 a.m., it would turn red at 9 a.m. And from 9, 10, 11, at 12 o'clock, it would drop off altogether if we hadn't finished administering. So in your near misses, you've only got a 4-hour window. And then if you don't fix it by that point, it'll fall into the missed. And in those instances, the only way to correct them is to go back to orders. This should be a review for you, but you go back to the orders page for that particular resident. Down at the bottom of the page, you will have, and I don't have this token on, so let me do it on my environment. Go down to the bottom of the page, You have an amend administrations. And this is where you can search whatever date range you're looking at. See all of the active orders for that period of time. If I need to fix this L10LL, I can see that I gave it today, but I missed it yesterday or earlier today. Here you find the applicable amend administrations. So this part is exactly the same as what you have today. You could then prep it and then say why it was late. So basically it's just the backdoor kind of entry here. And then I can say why, training day. And then I can add my blood pressure, anything that I would be adding. If you are adding via this method, you're going to see that window the same way you do in your legacy today. And now I can hit save, and you can see that I put a late administration, but I didn't chart it via EMAR. So that chart correction method hasn't changed. But you do have to run the reports or figure out what they are. And this will be the only way you can do it if you exceed those 4 hours. And then the same thing with your resident administration history report or your facility administration history. All of this is the same as what you have today. Okay, no change to that. So now, as I went through there, and I'll show it real quick, you can run it for whatever day,